My name is Paula Lindsey. I'm going on my 4th year battling scleroderma, a rare autoimmune disease, and it's been progressing. 2 years ago, I shared my story in a film called Black Butterflies, but so much has changed since then. I went from dancing with the fairies to spending a week in ICU, battling double pneumonia, partially collapsed lungs, and a bloodstream infection. I was physically and mentally exhausted, depressed, and for the first time ever, I almost lost hope. But God stepped in and sent a sign that turned it all around. There on TV, I watched a monarch butterfly trying to break free of her dark and ugly cocoon. It shook violently as she tried to escape. Finally, she emerged, shook her wings, and flew away. What a powerful image. That's me, I thought, in this diseased and broken body. I knew then it was time to fight for my life and focus on getting well and not giving up. I left the hospital on a walker, but on my own 2 feet. Recovery was difficult and took months, but I survived. My battle with illness began over 30 years ago. I was 31 when it all started. Since then, I've been diagnosed and treated for the following overlapping autoimmune diseases: UMCTD, or undifferentiated mixed connective tissue disease, Hashimoto's thyroid, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's, and then in 2021, the most devastating diagnosis of all, scleroderma, aka systemic sclerosis. I was positive for anti-SCL70 antibodies. I couldn't believe it. This must be a joke. I had lost a friend to scleroderma and knew far too much about this devastating disease. I remember falling to my knees and crying out, "Really, God? Really? How much more can I take?"
How has scleroderma affected you since diagnosis 4 years ago?
Early on, my heart was affected with a rapid and irregular heartbeat, and that's called tachycardia. I'm on medication now and I'm stable. The next thing was esophageal dysmotility, and that's where food gets stuck in the esophagus when I try to swallow certain foods, and that's been difficult. It's painful, it's uncomfortable, it's scary, along with slow motility GI issues. And that means that my intestines are not properly moving food down them like they're supposed to. I've been put on a motility drug, which helps my body do what it can no longer do. I'm on a very restricted diet, and I have to try very hard to stay nourished, because if not, in some circumstances, people are put on feeding tubes. This has been very difficult to adjust to, emotionally, physically, and I'm coping the best I can. And on top of all that, my skin has become blotchy and very itchy. It's almost like I'm trying to shed it, and it's maddening. I have been experiencing more joint pain and fatigue in the last year. I cope with that through acupuncture and, believe it or not, exercise. It does help. One of the most difficult things I've had to deal with is something called Raynaud's phenomenon, which is very common in scleroderma patients. We're very sensitive to temperature changes, especially the cold. Blood doesn't flow properly to my fingers and toes, and they will turn numb and go blue. And I have to wear gloves to protect myself. I'm on medication, which has helped, but I'm still at risk.
At risk for what exactly?
Amputation. I have friends who have actually lost fingers and toes because of this.
And what is your biggest concern right now?
It's my heart and my lungs. My last echocardiogram was abnormal, and I'm being screened for a very serious complication called pulmonary hypertension, which affects the lungs and the heart. The next step in this will be an invasive procedure called the right heart catheterization, where they actually go into the pulmonary artery for diagnostic purposes, and you're awake during the procedure. I can't even go there right now. I can't even think about it, but there's hope. I have my first appointment with a scleroderma specialist soon. Finally, someone to look at my complex medical history and hopefully devise a treatment plan that's going to slow or stop progression of this illness. I feel like I'm off for a big adventure. To me, it's like I'm off to see the wizard.
How has this affected you spiritually?
I mean, sure, I've asked God why many times. I'm only human, but today here I'm standing firm on my faith because I have experienced miracles, a million little miracles. First off, I'm still alive. That's a miracle. My miracle baby is about to turn 30, and he was conceived and born in the midst of my lupus battle, and he is my greatest blessing. I'm very grateful to God for all I have overcome.
Who do you turn to?
I see a therapist quite consistently. She helps me with spiritual advice and gives me coping mechanisms. And I find talk therapy very helpful. I strongly believe that a mental health expert is just as important as any other specialist on your healthcare team. My lifeline has been an online support group of fellow scleroderma warriors. Together, we are adapting to scleroderma. There's ladies who have lived decades with this illness, and that brings me hope. I know a lot of really strong and courageous women. My husband, he's my rock. We've been married 32 years, and he stood by me through all of this. And breast cancer. Oh yeah, I'm breast cancer. I'm a 10-year breast cancer survivor, and I will claim that victory. I can't imagine life without him or our sons and our family. I don't share my illness on social media. So this may come as a big surprise to people who know me, but I do have family, close friends, and some very special prayer warriors who have been supporting me, and especially now that things have gotten more serious. I get daily affirmations of how much I am loved, and I'm very appreciative. Sitting here, honestly, it's hard to be vulnerable and for me to share this. Part of me really wants to pretend that it's okay, that I'm fine and keep it private. But as an advocate for scleroderma, I feel this is my responsibility to share my truth. All I ask now from people who do know me personally is don't treat me any differently. Don't feel sorry for me. And please just don't disappear. Just be there to love me through it.
This is very emotional. How are you coping emotionally?
I've had a lot of anxiety recently about the unknowns, possible pain, suffering, disability, loss of independence. At times I feel like a prisoner to this illness because it's so consuming. And lately I have been working with an end-of-life navigator to get my affairs in order. Time to do that is now, while I'm relatively healthy and in my right mind. And she's been guiding me gently through all of this. But the advance directive was very difficult. I don't think anyone really wants to focus that much on the details of what their death may look like. And all of this has really put me into this unhealthy mindset where I feel like I'm running out of time because of scleroderma, and I don't want to live like this. Anger, yeah, I'm angry. I'm angry that I live in a body that's been trying to destroy itself. I'm angry that I've lost so many friends to cancer, and now I'm beginning to lose people I know to scleroderma. I'm angry at a medical professional who had the nerve to tell me, "You worry too much," when all I was searching for were answers. But I've decided it's time to reset the clock. It's time to start over. It's time for me to get it all out. So let's go smash some things. I have to decide each day how I choose to live the rest of my life. I never want to lose hope again. When angry, I'll do my best to not get lost in the ruins. I'm giving myself permission to retreat if I need time to be alone, focusing on living for today because tomorrow isn't promised to anyone. One of my scleroderma warriors recently encouraged us to speak life. We may have scleroderma, but it doesn't have us.